Hey, how you doing?
How's it going, Ramon?
Oh, it's good. The mics are not muted. We did a good thing. I'm Ramón Perez,
I'm Eric Vedder.
and welcome to Make Shit Mondays.
Yeah.
How's your week been going there, Eric? Or ending, I guess. Last week,
Uh,
since I last saw you.
it's good, man. I had a busy. Warframe had their big TennoCon show
Oh, yeah.
on
How'd that
Saturday,
go?
and I was on a panel at 2 to 3. So I was talking art, talking shit. But it's good day. We had a really good day.
Yeah.
It's very emotional because usually we have this show in London at a convention center with thousands of fans
Yeah, this is
in
the second year
live.
you've done it online, right?
Yeah. I think this
Yeah.
is the fifth or sixth TennoCon. They'll probably beat me up for screwing that up, but yeah, it's really cool. It was really cool to be in the studio again and see see some faces. Of course, we're all double vaxxed and stuff, and we were just doing a live
Nice.
recording of talking some art about the game and stuff. So it's really
Nice.
cool.
Do you know the turnout for the online
I
event at
know.
all?
So at 5 o'clock we do that dev stream. Remember Sheldon mentioned that he's doing that talk with the dev team, right? Sheldon,
Yeah.
Steve, Scott, Reb, and Jeff. And at one point I clocked in almost 500,000 viewers
Oh
watching
shit!
Twitch. So 500,000 were watching. I don't think they were watching me at 2.
Damn,
I got to see what those numbers were, but
damn.
for that one it was almost 500,000. So that was pretty wild to see that. So
That is crazy. Holy shit!
yeah. Yeah,
That's
so we're all
impressive.
tired, and we got like 2 weeks off now, or a week off. They shut down the studio, and then a lot of people are taking some extra time off. So I'm like decompressing.
Yeah, nice, nice.
Yeah,
Well,
how
I
about you?
actually
How about
enjoy the
you?
weather. I just been busy with some deadlines on Stillwater, cranking through those, making sure the book gets out on time for all the fantastic readers that have been supporting us. And while doing that, also I put the Mr. Monster book to press, so that's
Nice.
getting printed as we speak. And backers will be having that book in their hands probably by end of September, if not earlier.
That's great.
And the hello, Mama
I'm on a
Deadhead.
deadhead, always first.
Welcome
I like
back.
it.
And then Forest Folk, I've been working on Dax's book and putting that through and getting it ready for the printer because that's going to the printer in 10 days. So it's been a bit of a plate spinning scenario here over the week. And now I'm just kind of, as I wrap those things up, I'm allowing myself a bit of a breathing room and then hopefully dive into my own stuff actually for Raid 4, which I think we'll be sharing some of your work with today.
Yeah,
And
just little sketches that kind of tie into what I'm working on here that I've been
yeah,
doodling away the last few shows. But what's she's
yeah.
boycotting you?
It's a sad. Mama Deadhead. I didn't write the story. I just went along and tried to put as much emotional impact into the story as Chip wanted. And I mean, if everybody hates me for all the love I brought to the story, my job is done. It's done well. Um,
Stillwater isn't the same thing as that movie, but
No, no, not at all. Not at all. Yeah, I guess if we ever get a movie made or a TV show, it's not going to be called Stillwater. Or
yeah,
maybe,
I was like
you
Stillwater.
know,
Wow, those guys move fast.
yeah, I
Wow.
know, right? So what are you drinking tonight?
Well, I'll probably return to the Bareface whiskey again.
Oh,
I
that bottle
got
is
a
getting
little bit
emptier.
left here. This is a
Yeah,
good Canadian rye whiskey. I'm trying to find the camera all the time.
nice.
Anyway, it's
Ooh,
one of my all-time favorites, and you can see there's not much left. So
no,
I'm gonna
no,
dip into that tonight.
nice.
What do you got there?
I actually got my regular again here, the Tierra Noble, which is my favorite easygoing tequila that I've been enjoying.
Easy going.
It's smooth, it's nice. But actually today I'm gonna mix it up with Rob in our studio here made some fresh squeezed lemonade. So I'm gonna do a little bit of mixture here
All right, fella.
and see how it goes. You know, nice little summer day with a little.
Yeah, it was pretty hot.
I know,
Well,
man. Oh, well, cheers.
cheers, fella. Number 6.
6. Yeah.
Right on.
So today
So who do we have on tonight, buddy?
I like to call this man a Renaissance man because I am
Yeah.
totally always impressed with the amount he has going on. He's a talented individual. Shawn Crystal. I met him years ago through, I think it might have been, it might have been through Eric Canetti. I'm not sure. Maybe he introduced me to Eric Canetti. It's blanking now, but it was at, I think, Heroes Con years ago. And it was around the time I had just finished Stillwater, so it's been a good decade at least that I've known Shawn. And he's been grateful enough. Back when he was a teacher at the Savannah College of Art at the Atlanta campus, he flew me in for a talk along with Ryan Stegman and Nick Dragotta, and treated us very well, and really got to know him that weekend, and then from then on at future shows and everything. So this guy, he's an amazing artist. He does a podcast. He's started his own online school. He's into the NFT scene. I mean, without further ado, Shawn Crystal.
Shawn Crystal. All right.
That was awfully generous. Thank you.
Dude, no, it's all serious. I am constantly impressed with the amount of shit you have going on and how you're on top of everything. The fact that you also have a TikTok, just like you're just on the cusp of like just doing everything, and I'm just always impressed.
Well, thank you. I feel like it's all desperate measures to keep my head above water.
But the thing is, you do it well. Like you do, it's like very pro. It's slick. Like when you do your podcast, you do it right. You know what I mean? When you do your instructional stuff, you do it right. So it's just I know you give all, whether it's whatever the reasoning is, you're doing it very well and putting your best foot out there, which I like.
Yeah, I don't know how to do things half-assed.
That's
kind
true.
of a blessing and a curse.
I'm kind of the other way. I really know how to do things half-assed.
I don't.
Trying to work through that.
Oh,
Well,
man.
Thank you guys for having me on.
Oh, no
Ramon
problem, dude.
mentioned that he's known you for 10 years. Shawn, I don't even know you, man.
Well,
We hung a little bit at that Toronto Fan Expo probably about 5 years ago, I think.
yeah, the
Eric.
party probably when a bunch of
think-
the Essential
Yeah, but
guys
throughout
came
the
up.
weekend, I think we hung a little bit that weekend.
Yeah, I think I said hi in passing initially. You were walking with Scott Hepburn, and then I think
Yes.
at that show, at the end, you were leaving. I'm like, oh, I didn't get a chance to talk to you. Let's talk sometime. And that was it.
Yeah.
And now 5 years later, you're finally doing your promise.
Right. But you came up to talk to me, and I mean, like right now, I can see what I think is a Pal Peralta shirt on you. And I think when
buddy.
Yes. So I think when you came up to talk to me, you were wearing something that I was like, oh my God, my people.
Right. I know. Like
Nice.
I felt so happy getting these. I got a. Oh geez, now I'm blanking all the names, of course. But I got this shirt. I got this is the Pal Peralta. I think I got a Bones Brigade shirt.
Nice.
I got a. Oh man, Mike
Mike
You're
McGill?
failing.
Mike
McGill. Oh my God,
Yeah.
I got that shirt too. So.
Nice.
And I got like Santa Cruz shirts. I'm just trying to live that old young skateboard, late 80s, early 90s.
yes,
Like,
the golden years.
I got a Dogtown shirt. I'm like, yeah.
Oh, that's
Eric,
awesome.
Eric Dressen. Anybody know Eric Dressen?
I know Eric Dressen.
Yeah, right on.
It's actually funny. One of the new guys at the studio, Andrew Dorland, has been skateboarding in now to the studio. And the first day he did, he said, I think he hadn't done it in like a decade or something, and he was like hurting all over from just pushing the board down.
Yeah, I learned the hard way that my days are past.
I hope you didn't break anything.
I didn't hurt myself that bad. I got winded, and I think I did a little bit of damage to my back, but nothing terrible. Like every now and then I'll feel it, but that was enough. That was the universe saying, "Hey, buddy, those days are gone."
I think the universe told me early on, because I when I was about, I must have been grade 8 or grade 9, I was super into skateboarding. I got my parents to buy me a deck. Didn't know any of the guys you're talking about, but I was skating with a bunch of kids, and then we were going down this massive hill, and my board went into a wobble. And
The speed wobbles, yeah.
Yeah, the speed wobble. And I was like, what the fuck's going on here? I'm like, and there's like cross traffic at the bottom of the hill. And I'm like,
Yeah.
and so I just basically, I steered as close as I could to the curb and just basically dove onto a lawn into a roll. And I mean, luckily, I actually ended up fracturing my my arm a little bit, like a hairline. I didn't have to wear a cast or anything. But I think that was at that point my body was telling me, just stick to BMXs and the other stuff you're familiar with. And I just I hung up the board very quickly that day. Sad but true. Oh man.
I bought a skateboard. When I went to college, Sheridan College, the first year. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to college. I'm going to bring skateboarding back. You know, I haven't done it in years, and I'm going to get back to this. So I bought a board and I started skating at the nearest plaza, and security kicked me out. I'm like, oh, come on, man. It's closed. It's like 10 o'clock at night. No cars. I'm like, what happened to the old days, man? I'm done.
They obviously didn't see the skateboarding is not a crime stickers we grew up with.
I know, right? Support your local skateboarder. That kind of
man.
Right.
Oh, man. I love it.
What are you working on, Shawn? You mentioned earlier you got a commission that you're going to be diving into here.
Yeah. Let me switch screens and I'll show you and explain.
Yeah, because you're doing this traditional, and it looks fairly big from what I saw.
It is big. There we go.
Nice.
Wow, that looks awesome. Jeez.
Oh shit!
Thank you. It's 15 by 20. I saw what Troy Nixie was doing with his commissions, and I was like, I would love to get into that. And it's funny, like I've learned, like kind of like being positive actually works, and so putting that intention out there. I got 2 of them like in 1 week, like 2 of these massive inked commissions that are a lot more than I've ever made doing a commission. But I love doing this. Working this way has been awesome.
Oh shit!
So it's a Batman Swamp Thing on this one, and then I also have after this I have to finish a Black Bolt one I did. I can show.
Wow. How long do these usually take you?
I don't know. This is my first time.
Oh shit!
I planned about a week on them, but that's along with I have so many things going on.
Yeah,
I have.
You're working in a lot of things at the same time, basically.
Right, like Monday is dedicated to ink pulp instruction. Thursday is dedicated to my podcast. Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday are dedicated to drawing. So I planned about a week on each of these, but that's on those days. So this is the that's the Black Bolt one I'm gonna do next.
Oh shit! Oh, that's wicked.
With Lockjaw, that'll be fun.
Yeah. I'm always talking with Jason, who Shawn and I share our agent.
Yeah.
And along with a fabulous amount of amazing artists. So I mean, Essential Sequential, check it out. Lots of great talent there. And I know he's always bugging me to do like these giant commissions, and I'm always like, I want to, because I like the idea of just doing something large and something that takes me a week and I can sink my teeth into, but I'm always just afraid to work it into my schedule, because sometimes, like last week, I think I finished a commission from about 2.5 years ago. Like, it's just,
oh wow!
It was just like been sitting on my table, and I'm like, I got to get this done. But kind of like.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say kind of like you were saying. It's just like I have one day dedicated to this, another day dedicated to that. So. Right.
I would rather do this than work for hire. Honestly, this pays better, is more fun, and so I'm going to be getting into creator-owned comics pretty soon. So everything I'm doing is trying to build some sort of nest to allow me to do that.
No, I mean I think what I'd like to do is something along the lines where. When I have the opportunity to take like a week or maybe a month off, just actually call Jason and go, here, book me 1 a week, and then I'll dive in. The problem is I got to do like 1 or 2 ahead of time just to like kind of show, I guess.
I don't know
what it is.
I got these without ever having done them. Someone just contacted me and was like, I'm thinking big. I was like, really? Because I've been wanting to do that.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't even advertise it. And the next day, someone else asked me the same thing, just out of the blue.
Oh, shit.
But I am going to try to use these two to line up like my December. Like I'm pretty booked through December, but I'd love to have the month of December to kind of take at my own pace and maybe take on 4 or 5 of these to do like December and into January.
Yeah.
And then just actually for the first time in my life have a little downtime over the holidays.
I know, right?
If that's possible. That would be awesome.
It would be awesome. Those are rare years when I have that, but I do relish it when it happens.
I can't remember ever having that.
I think I've had like 1 or 2 where I think it was 1 year I had a deadline between Christmas and New Year, and I called my editor and I was like, Like, really? I know none of you are in the office. Like,
Right,
So,
right,
so
right.
I'm just gonna bump this by a week into January and actually enjoy some time off.
That's awesome.
But actually, the cool thing about Skybound, who I'm doing Stillwater through, they actually don't book. They don't like book anything or no deadlines during that time, because they're the same way. They're like, we're not in the office, so like, why are we gonna make
Right.
you
That's
show
awesome.
up, right? But
That's cool.
I'd like to, I think as you get older as well, and I don't think we're too far off from the same age. All of us actually here, probably like 1 or 2 years apart. I think
Yeah.
I think we kind of like just appreciate that downtime a little bit more, and
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
whole idea of just like, working on what we want to work on and not kind of hustling deadlines, and
Yep.
not to say it'll never go away, but at least kind of maintain a control over it where it doesn't kind of, I guess, rule your life.
Yeah,
if you will.
yeah. I think
know?
like a big part of me starting pulp instruction was it was a few things. That was definitely one of them. Like my goal for ink pulp instruction is to ultimately pay me my monthly
Mhm.
nut, like what I need to
Yeah,
make every month. So
yeah.
then it frees me up entirely to do whatever I want to do at the pace I want to do it.
Well, that's amazing, man.
That's
And
my goal.
I kind of came out of the blue when I saw you posting about ink pulp instruction, but it seemed like a natural segue because you taught at SCAD for, was it a decade or
10
something?
Yeah, it was like 10 years. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I remember like around the time, just shortly after I met you, you were like, you quit because you wanted to go in comics full time.
Yep.
And but I mean, like the wealth of knowledge you must have accumulated, like not like as into how to teach and how to interact and how to
Yeah.
pass on that knowledge is invaluable. Especially like the one thing I love. Like, I didn't go to a comic book school, but I went to a school that was,
Hard Knocks.
well, it was hard knocks, but all my teachers were working professionals, so you got the inside scoop
Well, that's
on
good.
on everything, right? Like
That's
everything
really
from
good.
the business end of things to the art end of things. Where I find a lot of schools now, I'm not sure if this applies to the States, but in Canada we have like the college system and the university system, and the university system holds a bit more pedigree. Usually colleges are kind of more for trades, like you're going into nursing or you're going into illustration or
Right.
mechanics or something like that. So a lot of colleges that were teaching art trades have transitioned into universities just to get more funding and give students the credit or the diploma, so then you can teach afterwards. So with a diploma, you can only like for like myself, I don't have a college diploma. I can only ever teach in colleges. But with a university diploma, you can teach colleges and universities, right?
Right.
But the problem is, I find you lose that, professional aspect of these people who have, actually lived through the career that you're doing, rather than just stayed in the system of the teaching system, and everything they have is book knowledge, and they're not
Right.
really passing on that hands-on trade,
Yeah.
which is kind of nice. Which with Savannah College of Art, which is what I saw when I was there, and now what you're doing with this, and what I'm assuming like Schoolism does with their thing as well.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see more of these things popping up that aren't like, uh, you know, they're a bit more grounded in the reality of the industry, basically.
Yeah,
That's
that was
what I'm rambling on about.
that was one thing. Like I got my master's degree at the Savannah campus of SCAD, and it was kind of like it was rough because none of my like very only like one of my professors was a working cartoonist,
Oh, really?
and
Okay.
the rest had never even gotten freelance work. So I mean, I had a good experience because of the students around me and the guests they brought in. But when I started teaching at SCAD, I was like, it's going to be real important that in Atlanta, at least in my department, I only hire working professionals or people
Mhm.
who have experience, because there was so much misinformation going on in most art schools around here with teachers who just aren't experienced in the industries.
Yeah, and that's something you just don't want to take on to the students, because the more armed they are with the knowledge base, the better off they'll be.
Exactly.
Yeah. When I was in Sheridan for animation, I had I think some of the teachers, most of the teachers had worked in the animation industry, and
Sheridan's amazing.
Yeah, the years I went were amazing, and I think they've done quite a good job they've turned it into a 4-year and have changed it around a little bit. I think there's some positives and some negatives to that decision, but anyway, we had a graphic design teacher class, or graphic design class, sorry, for our art fundamentals. This was before I got into animation, and I was starting to really enjoy it. There's a lot of cool things going on there, and I talked to the teacher, and I said, yeah, I might want to get into graphic design. He's like, no, don't do it. He's like, you're gonna die there. You just don't get into that industry. I think maybe they were thinking, you know what, you could probably do something better. I don't know. Like, it's no field to get into. Like, it was just funny to get such an abrupt answer. I'm like, but you're the teacher and I'm learning, and you're like, no, don't go into that field.
Wow.
No, but that's cool that they can do that, right? They can tell you right off the bat and be honest with you and say, listen, you know, like, whether it was they didn't like it, or at least maybe they saw, like, from your stand, maybe they're like, you're not cut out for that industry. You're more leaning towards, you know, concept or like storytelling. You know, graphic design may be, you know, I think a good teacher can actually tell, you know, a student's strength and weaknesses, and what weaknesses they can overcome, and maybe some that they can't. And I think not to limit your students, but to at least kind of get them ready to go, listen, you might be in for more of a hustle in this industry than you would be in this industry, because you might be a square peg in a round hole.
Well, basically. It's funny just to get such, like, direct and honest information, because, like, you know, you're talking to a professional who's done it before. You admire them, and you're like, oh wow, they'll talk about things. And this is old school graphic design, you know, where they're cutting like the paper and cutting it, pasting it to the page. And they didn't have really computers. And these guys are old too, right? But to hear them go, no, don't get into it, dude. Trust me, go do something else. You're gonna want to do something else. It was a bit of a shock. Well, we got a question here. We got a couple of questions, or we got Jay Crawford. Do you ever go back to see how they're doing the class now, to see how it has changed? I think that's for you, Shawn.
Oh, no, I haven't been back. It's funny that my friend who I built the department with in Atlanta, he, like, shortly after we opened the campus, he got promoted up to a dean. And then when I left, he wanted to step down. So he took over the department. But I haven't been back. I know a lot of students of mine have this program where they like hire an alum as like a mentor for a year, and they bring them in for lectures and portfolio reviews. Yeah. So I know some students of mine have been back, but I haven't.
Did you go back?
Actually, I did go back a while after I left. It was probably 2 years after I left. They invited me back to be a guest, like I had Ramon there. So I did that time, but it's been a while.
Did you actually, out of curiosity, when I was there, I remember you had some phenomenal talent that year I was there. Yeah. Have you followed any of your graduating?
Yeah. You know, I know a student of mine named Domo. He's been full-time at DC for the past at least 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Kara has gone on to a lot of success. I know some students like Irene, who maybe you remember. She was a ridiculous talent.
Oh,
Yeah, so there's a local animation studio in Atlanta that does the Archer TV show, and now they have all the Marvel cartoons that are being made.
Oh, wow.
And so a lot of them are like storyboard and concept artists over there now too. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there have been a lot of students of mine who've really gone on to some great success in comics too. Yeah.
And did you start the Atlanta campus? Or,
I was teaching at a school in Atlanta. It was the Art Institute of Atlanta, which was like the McDonald's of art schools. But it was my first job teaching. But after teaching there for 2 years, we heard Savannah was going to open an Atlanta campus, and they were hiring. So me and my friend applied, and we both got the job. And I think they just really liked the idea. They didn't need 2 sequential art professors because when you first open a school, sequential art is not going to be the big draw.
No.
But they hired us both, and we built that program. And like I said, after a couple of quarters, they bumped him up to dean, and then I was there alone, and we started hiring adjunct, and then some of them became full-time. We hired more adjunct, and they became full-time. So yeah, me and my friend Pat built that program up from the ground. I taught every class almost that there was to offer. I had to.
Wow. Damn.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and how's the ink pulp instruction been going since you've started? It's been a month or two since you've launched it. Or?
I launched it. It's been a couple. I'm on episode 4 now, so it's been out for about 6 months now. I've been releasing one episode every other month, but the first episode came out the same time as episode 2. It's going. I had these big dreams of how quickly it would explode. But it's going well, and I can see like every new episode, it's doing better and better and better to the point where the last one kind of surprised me at how well it did. So, in 2022, I'm going to releasing an episode every month, and I'm also going to release different types of episodes where, like, right now, each episode is like a 4-hour long video about an artist and their work and their process that I go and shoot. Like I had Canetti, Mahfood, Tommy Lee Edwards. I have Jeff DeCal coming out in September. But I'm also, and those are like $100 each. So I'm also now starting to record smaller, shorter length episodes that are more like quick little tidbits. Like I recorded one for me on brush care. Like if you're going to ink and paint with your brushes, how do you take care of them? How do you choose what brushes to use? Stuff like that. That'll be like $20. That'll probably be like 20 minutes. Okay. And I also started shooting a series on my own of very basic, shorter form videos. Like I just shot one last week that I'll call Basic Perspective, and it's very much an introduction to 1 point, 2 point, 3 point perspective, placing characters in a space, how to do a perspective grid. So I haven't figured out the price point on that yet, but that will be, I mean, those will probably be like an hour, and I'll price them accordingly. So I'll have all these different options on, like, because I know for some people, like, if you haven't tried a course, to drop 100 might be a lot. So try a smaller one and see what you think.
Yeah, that's
but the longer ones, I stand by. I think they're incredible.
Nice. I mean, do you think? I mean, this is like pure conjecture on my part. Do you think it would be? Because I just signed up for masterclass this year, and that was just like a flat fee, and you get access to everything. Do you think?
Yeah, I'm working towards that. I have to have a library to get there.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I was going to ask. Like maybe in a year or 5, not a year, 3 or 5 years, where you have a massive body of stuff, you could, that might be a different. I mean, I don't know. I'm always curious.
Yeah, no,
about these things,
that's
right?
the plan. That's definitely the plan.
Yeah.
And we're going to start it soon, experimenting with bundles where, like if you want to, like I said, I'm doing these like very basic, like, I'll do basic figure drawing, basic perspective, basic composition. So then you can buy the bundle of those for a discounted price, or you can buy like a bundle of all of Shawn's episodes for a certain price.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get there, and we're gonna play with all that for sure.
That's amazing. No, it's a huge. Are you doing this yourself, or do you have a bit of a team that's?
I have one other person I do it with. It's my buddy Alan, who's always done all my audio for the podcasts.
Okay.
And he's doing all the audio, video, and editing on it. I put them all together, and I host them all. So it's just us two. But I'm telling you, it's like it's Netflix quality what we've achieved. He's got these black magic cameras, like it's crazy.
Well, you sent me the first episode as just to kind of like show me what you were doing, and I was like blown away. You know.
Oh, great, good.
Yeah,
And
no.
it's gotten better. That was before we had our like really good cameras. Like what we're doing now, like in Tommy's episode, we had just got a drone. So we
Oh
had,
shit!
yeah, we had some fun with that too.
Wow.
So I was looking up a little bit on you, Shawn, and I was like, oh, I saw one of your previous interviews or whatever, and you mentioned how much Frank Miller has influenced you. Is that still the case?
Absolutely.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, there's one reason I'm in comics, and it's Frank Miller. I mean, I didn't grow up reading comics. I wasn't like a comic book kid. I loved, like, what got me wanting to, I always liked drawing, and I wanted to get an animation because the Spider-Man cartoon I watched when I was a kid was just magic. And that, like, all I wanted to do is draw Spider-Man, but I didn't know about comic books. I thought it was animation.
Yeah.
So I grew up just wanting to do animation and not really knowing about comics. And when I was 15, I remember I was in class drawing, and this one nerdy kid was like, hey, and he started talking to me about comic books. I was like, I just don't know. And like the next day he came in with The Dark Knight Returns.
Oh shit.
And he was like,
wow.
read this. And and what got me to really read it was on the back was a pull quote from Stephen King. And I was an avid reader. I loved reading novels, and I loved reading Stephen King. I was like, oh shit. It kind of gave it some like credence, like
some credit, some credibility,
yeah, which I didn't know, and I read that, and it was like, holy shit, I had no idea that comics could be this like adult and this dark and this good and this awesome, and so that got me to explore comics, and then I fell in love, and it was at the time. It's funny, it was the same time I saw Brian De Palma's The Untouchables.
Oh, nice.
And it was like the first time I was aware of a director's presence in a film, like where I was like, oh, I feel tense right now because he just did this with the camera or this with the cut. And I was like, oh shit, I was never aware of that. And I was like, that's what I want to do with my drawing. That's what I want to get in animation. And then after reading The Dark Knight Returns, like around that same time, I was like, oh, that's what comics are.
Yeah.
So then,
that's interesting.
Yeah.
So obviously he was a massive influence on you, and so has there been anybody new and recently that you've been like, whoa, I didn't see that coming?
I mean, I love so much. Yes, there's so much. I mean,
I know.
With Instagram, I'm constantly like, whoa, whether it's someone's drawing chops or someone's inking chops or someone's compositions or design. Yeah, I'm flooded with stuff that's really inspiring. But I mean, honestly, just sitting with Essential Sequential, as Ramon knows, it's just mind-blowing to look over and see Ramon drawing and Eric Canetti drawing and Panosian and Mateo and everyone rocking and rolling. It's just it's incredible to be amongst that. So I am very inspired and influenced by everything that comes in front of me.
I remember when I first got asked to join, and I remember like just going like the first show with Jason and Essential, and I was like just sitting there going, I don't belong here.
Yeah, that's what I said too.
Just like, I'm like, why am I here? But like, because a lot of those guys were my heroes. I mean, it's funny because we're all close to the same age, but like a lot of these people got into comics way before I did, like a good decade or 15 years.
Right, same with me.
You know what I mean? So like these were guys I was looking up to. I didn't know they were, maybe only 5 years older, 6 years older than me. So then just to sit beside them and go, Jesus, these are my contemporaries. I'm like, fuck, I got a lot of talent to catch up on here.
Yep. I felt the same exact way.
Yeah, but I mean, I love it. Like you just look over everybody's shoulders, see what tools, and just talk to them as normal human beings. It's not like a fan across the table or whatever who might be a little intimidated, and then you're just like, hey, they feel the same way half the time, and and then you kind of just like learn from each other as just peers and colleagues, which is just even more amazing.
Absolutely. I remember one of the first shows I did where Klaus Janson was with us. I mean, I had been with the group a little bit, but hadn't done a show with Klaus, or I just had never spoken to him. I was too intimidated. And like he walked in, like I think Mateo and I got in early to get started on commissions, and he walks in, he says hi to Mateo, chats it up with Mateo, and then he's like, Shawn, what's going on? He just starts chatting it up with me. I'm like, wait a minute, you don't know who I am. You're Klaus Janson. You're half the reason I'm here.
Oh man, yeah,
it's pretty cool.
And Klaus is such an awesome guy too. So friendly.
Yes. Yes.
Man, oh man, fuck. I really miss doing shows. This is all just making me miss.
I know, me too. I mean, I'm really glad I'm going to one next week.
Oh yeah. So which show are you going to next week?
I'm going to Terrificon in Connecticut.
Okay.
Jason always goes, and he's always like, if anyone ever wants to go, they'll take any of us in. And I was like, you know what? It's the first con since COVID. Let me go.
Look at that nice hair on you there. Look at that handsome fella.
It's very up to date photo they used. Yeah.
Yeah. I've gotten DMs about that damn picture. How old were you? When is that from?
My God, you look like you're 25 there or something.
Yeah,
oh man, that's amazing.
That's an old one. I think it was my signing.
They're gonna be wandering around looking for that guy, and they're like,
yeah, that guy's not there.
They'll be like, excuse me, sir, we're here for Shawn Crystal. This is him here. Have you seen him?
Right, yeah. This old man is him now.
Oh fuck. Early on, I mean, like I was mentioning, like all joking aside, like I seriously do think you're a bit of a renaissance man when it comes to doing the things you do.
Thank you.
And I remember, like, years ago, and I've been asking for my own curiosity, actually, but you actually got into tattooing as well. Like, you were...
I started to... that didn't go well. I was... as you know, I have tattoos, and I was enjoying...
Yeah.
And I have friends who are amazing tattoo artists, and one who's, like, a world-renowned tattoo artist, and he has an incredible shop here in town, and he was tattooing my chest, and he said, what do I got to do to get you in here?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, man, that'd be fun. I'd like that. He's like, I could have you up and running in a couple months. I was like, oh, shit, okay.
Oh, wow, okay.
So then we talked about it, and then, I had been working in comics for a good almost 10 years at this point, and so I went in, and it was like day one, I started being treated like an intern, like a tattoo apprentice, like a typical one with, they were having me do menial shit, and I wasn't being hazed like some of the other tattooists might have been, but I wasn't being put in front of a tattoo machine and being taught it.
Yeah.
And after a little while of that, I was like, I'm losing money coming in to fucking do stupid shit.
Yeah.
And
okay.
And I kind of got into it with my friend, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, this is really disrespectful.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, all right, well, I'll get you tattooing real quick, but I still have to have you doing the other stuff to save face with the rest of the people. I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done. But that being said, I became very good friends with another tattoo artist there, who the whole time was kind of pulling my other friend aside, be like, what are you doing? You have a Batman artist here. What are you doing? And so he and I stayed friends, and recently he came to my studio one day and dumped all this equipment on me. It was like, I'm going to show you how. You let me know when you have time.
Oh, shit. That's amazing.
Yeah. So I am going to do it. In fact, I was going to start it this month, but then all this shit landed in my lap that I wanted to do. So I'm going to make time for that soon. I just got to figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, I could be totally naive on this, but I feel like it's just learning another tool.
That's all it is.
You know what I mean? And obviously, skin being the canvas reacts differently than paper, so you got to figure that out.
Right. And also, one thing I have learned is that every piece of skin on the body acts differently. Like you could be coming around a bicep and hit into the ditch of the inner elbow, and the skin all of a sudden is totally different.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
but that's all stuff
interesting.
you get used to and
Yeah.
learn. And the only way to learn is by doing. So
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just hurting other people, so it's actually kind of cool.
but I figure with my brush skills, like I'm pretty in tune with my tool. Like if I can feel paper through my brush, then I should be able to
Yeah.
feel skin through a machine.
That's what I figure. Like, I know I've been approached a couple times here and there, going like, you should, because the rumor, is like these guys make 10 times more money than you ever will in comics.
Yeah.
But I always just looked at it as like, yeah, it's just whether you're picking up a Wacom stylus or a brush on paper, you're just reacting to the surface and learning how to interact with it to get the best results from your tool,
Exactly.
basically.
So I gotta learn that. But when I was probably 22, I think I was a bartender and I was trying to break into comics, and a friend of mine wanted a tattoo, and he had met this just out of prison tattoo artist who was tattooing out of his kitchen.
Wow.
And so he was like, "Will you design the tattoo for this guy to do?" So I did, and the guy loved my work, and he was like, "Bring him by when I tattoo you." And I went with him. And that I walked in, the guy just like handed me a tattoo machine. He was like, "I want you to tattoo me."
Wow.
And I was like, "All right, fuck it." So I did.
Really?
I did. Yeah. I opened my sketchbook. I said, "Pick something," and he picked something, and I tattooed it on him.
Holy shit.
And he was like, "You really have an incredible feel for the a light touch," is what he called it.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, all right." So I know I could probably pick it up kind of quick.
Wow. So the actual official tattoos by you out there exist, basically.
One
One is out there. And
Yeah.
how did you feel about it after you did it? Like, were you like, as you're like doing it for the first time, did it feel just like, I guess, natural, or just like another?
Yeah, it did. It
Yeah?
felt very natural, and I enjoyed it. I didn't feel any intimidation factor. I didn't feel like cautious or hesitant. Like I just dove in, and after probably about 5 minutes of working the machine in there, I was like, "Yeah, I'm grooving on this."
That's fucking awesome, man.
So yeah, but I was so tunnel vision on comics. I was like, I thought about like learning to do it. I was like, yeah, but then how am I going to do sample pages? And so I was like, nothing's going to get in the way of my comics dream.
Comics, it grabs hold.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
I was told a lot when I was younger. My one friend Brian Frew, he was always bugging me. He said, you should be a fucking tattoo artist, man. Come on. Because I think he saw how much money I could make doing it. But I'm like, I want to draw comics. And then I still think about it. But I think for me, I think it was like, one, worrying I would screw someone's skin up. But mostly I was kind of worried about how the gun might affect my hand with the shaking all the time. Like,
yeah,
interesting.
Yeah,
I was worried about that, like, having some kind of weird long-term effect one day. I don't know.
I never thought about that,
and I was concerned about that too. And I remember talking to other tattoo artists about it, and like they would watch me ink with a brush. They're like, "You shouldn't be worried about this. You should be worried about that. If anything's gonna fuck your hand up, look what you're doing with a brush."
That's a good point. Because like I sometimes like I get a little, I think, carpal tunnel, like not full on, but I get a little tingle, and I'm like, I gotta be a little. Let me let loose of that pen a little bit more, and So.
I get that too.
It's hard. 'Cause I remember my teachers would always say, even like when I was riding when I learned to ride, it's funny how these things translate over things. Like when I was learning to ride my motorcycle, they were telling me the exact same thing that my brush teachers were telling me in school. Like they didn't specifically teach inking for comics, but I had a design teacher who taught me. So I like my year when I was in college, it was kind of like a weird transition year because I was getting a lot of old school teachers and a lot of new school. So I was learning the computer, things like Illustrator, Photoshop.
Oh, cool.
But I was also learning how to do graphic design lettering by hand with a brush.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so And like, so you're doing these like, Garamond or, Helvetica letters all by
Right.
brush, right?
Oh my God,
And,
that's amazing.
and then you're also using like French curves and tech pens as well. But it was funny. They told me that like the motorcycle teacher and the brush guy were like, hold it, but don't hold it tight. Let it like hang loose in your hand, and
Yeah.
and lead it along. You know what I mean? And
Right.
don't get me wrong. Like I still grip my pen. I'll find myself when I don't do as much as I used to, but when I actually ink traditionally, sometimes I overhold or too tightly hold my utensil.
Right.
So I mean, and I feel that tension in the hand. But when then I consciously decide to loosen up, I'm like, yeah, because you're just like gliding it across, right?
Right.
And so I don't know. It's interesting how like these things translate to different.
Sure.
I don't know.
feel like, because I said, I mean, when like even today, like, but when I was teaching, and I'll get DMs now, and it'll be like, I hold my brush so tightly, my hand hurts. I'm like, that's normal. Like, I don't encourage people not to do that. The only way
Yeah.
that goes away is with confidence and experience. And
Yeah.
even then, when you're in a tight area, you're going to grip the hell out of it. But
yeah, for sure.
But for the most part, I'm holding the brush a lot looser than I ever did, just because it's comfortable now. And
Yeah.
like, people think you're insane when you say you draw with a brush. And the
Yeah, I
first
know, right?
time, yeah, and you remember the first time picking it up, it was like, God damn, this is hard.
Yeah. I remember I had one of my earliest cons. I was working in gaming for a long time. And, growing up before the internet, you didn't really have a lot of things to tell you how to do things. So,
Right.
I was learning a lot of, like, one of my Bibles, early Bibles, was the inking book from Dark Horse Comics by
Yes. The Gary Martin book.
Yes, the Gary Martin book.
Yeah.
And I remember meeting him at a con. He was like, I can't remember who the guy was beside him, but he's like, see, Gary, you're putting yourself out of business. You're teaching all these kids. But I didn't know anything, right? So it was like, I was using all the wrong tools, and I was inking with a quill for everything.
Oh wow.
And it was only because the only reference I had before Gary's book was a book by Dave Sim, who did Cerebus.
Yeah.
And he did like a little book on self-publishing and a few things.
Yeah,
like
I remember that.
And he talked about using the quill, the crow quill, like the 102, but like a brush. Don't treat it like a quill. Treat it like a brush. And so I remember I was like, okay, so I'm just using this thing all over the place. And so I never used, for the first probably decade of my career, I never used a brush. And then I met Joe Rubenstein at a con.
Oh wow.
And he was like talking to me, and I'm showing him my portfolio. I'm trying to get into comics. I'm working in gaming, like I said, fantasy art, that kind of thing. And he's like, he's looking at my work, and he's like, oh, you got some beautiful brushwork here. And I was like, actually, that's all quill. And he's like, he just like yelled at me. He's just like, what are you, nuts, kid? Just like, pick up a brush. What are you doing to yourself? And I'm like, I don't know. What brush should I do? He's like, pick up a Winsor Newton number 2 or 3. Go at it. And I'm like, all right. I had no idea what I was doing. And then I think it was around that time I came across Gary's book. And started to like see what other guys were doing and how they were using the tools and stuff. So
Right.
it's just it's so amazing what potential artists have available to them now at like a fingertips click.
Right. And do you feel like inking as an art form is taking some hits from that, because like people can just like pick up a Photoshop brush and draw with a black line, which isn't inking.
No,
But
I think yeah. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, that was it. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I think having having done both now. Like I do a lot of digital inking for a lot of my monthlies, but I still love traditional inking. And I think there is, like, I'll be honest with myself, I'm sloppier when I ink digitally because you're just zooming in and out all the time. You're doing these lines, you're undoing.
Right.
Where I found with, the guys who influenced me when I was like learning how to ink were, I mean, aside from the Gary Martin book, like I was looking at like Bernie Wrightson.
Yeah.
I was looking at I'm blanking on his name right now. The guy who did Zenoic Tales.
Mark Schultz.
Yeah, Mark Schultz, and and then I picked up other guys like Kevin Nolan, who was doing a lot of quill work and stuff, but like Eisner's brush work,
Yep.
there's such a beauty and precision to that line.
Yeah.
It's so controlled, but also loose. Like there's like a balance you create with that tool, right? And
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of great guys who do like some great brush work, but I find a lot of the brushwork I see now, and this is not a dig because I respect these guys amazing, like James Herron, or like one of the guys in the studio, Scott Hepburn. They do like this really messy, kind of energetic inking, as well as what's his name, like Daniel Warren Johnson. Like I love all these guys' work, but their stuff is a little bit more aggressive and just kind of messy fun. There's like their lines are just kind of organic and laid down, whereas I find the lines from the guys I mentioned earlier, like Ryson and Eisner, I found their lines were just like these beautiful, fluid, kind of controlled, but loose at the same time. I don't know how to explain it.
Right. No, those are all my heroes too.
You know what I mean? Like when you do a line, like you just go right across the page and you just kind of like your arm, and it's like music to me. Right, so it's almost like the new guys are doing like punk and like I don't know, maybe, and the old guys were doing maybe like classic jazz or something. I have no idea how to compare it, but I think there is a bit of a loss to the art form, because a lot, especially with all the digital stuff, where these guys can lay down lines in 2 seconds and then you zoom out and. Like I know when I zoom in on some of my pages, I'm like, "Ooh, that's a little bit sloppier than I intended," but I guess no one's gonna see it because once you have the color stuff on there and everything else, I don't know.
Yeah, with James Herron with Ultra Mega, that's
that's awesome, man.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. I love their work.
I never got into inking. I've tried it. I've done it a few times. I just quickly gave up. I'm a big pencil, a Sheridan guy, like with the Cola Race, like the blue line thing. Like I just love the feel of that.
Yeah. But you went to animation though, right? Didn't you? Or no?
Yeah.
So that's really big in animation.
Yeah. And part of me, when I was in animation, the whole time I'm like, I should have went to illustration, because like I enjoyed animating. I actually had a knack for it, I think, but I was like, fuck, this is a lot of work. The story is I don't like to do a lot of work. So.
I think the animation, because I was actually told to go to animation first. That's how I discovered Sheridan. And for me, it was more so the idea that I had no control over the final finished product. Like, I know you could do your own animated shorts, and I've seen a lot of amazing shorts come out of like some amazing artists. But you're still part of a greater team, and there's nothing wrong with that. If just for me, it was like I don't know if it's my OCD or just my control of my vision or whatever it is. It was like no, I want to make sure every line that goes down on that final image is mine, and it adheres to whatever, for better or for worse, adheres to that vision that I want to put out there, basically.
Yeah, I feel like comics, what's so attractive about it to a lot of us is there's no filter between your vision, your art, and the reader. There's very little filter between that. And it's one of the few art forms where you can say that.
Yeah, exactly,
Because I work full time as a concept artist at work, and it doesn't last into the game. You know what I mean? Like it gets touched by many hands, and that's cool. Like they do amazing work and stuff like that. But like I've tried to dig up projects on the game where I can showcase my individual skills just to appease my ego.
But, you don't find it?
What's that?
They don't. It's gone completely by the time it's the final product, or
yeah. No, it's just funny because like you take your concepts and then we have great 3D artists and they do an amazing job, but you're just like you're part of this. I don't want to say machine in a negative.
No, but you are. It's not a negative thing because comics, even monthly comics are like that to a way. You're part of an assembly
Right.
line. You know what I mean? And that's why, like, I think for me, like you were mentioning earlier, Sean, like you're delving into creator owned. Like I think that's even closer to the vision of the creator's vision, because you're in more control. Because there's many projects I've done for like Marvel or DC where it gets handed off to the colorist or the letterer, and I get no input beyond that point. You know what I mean?
Right.
And sometimes you're pleasantly surprised and you're like in awe because there's some great talent in the industry. But other times you're like, God, that kind of killed me, or killed the page a little bit, or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree totally. Yeah.
You know, like I remember once I got inked by somebody else as a favor to an editor. The only time in my entire career. And
I let that happen once.
I hated it. I got the pages back and I was like, oh God, that's like, you know.
Yeah.
Because for me, I don't know if it's like this for you, but I do a lot of my thinking at the ink stage.
Yeah. For sure.
You know, I laid down a foundation in the pencils, but you kind of like leave it open to, I guess, as they say, happy surprises or mistakes or whatever it is that kind of dictate, you know.
Yeah, for me, my signature look happens in the ink. Like,
yeah, no, for you,
all
definitely.
The line, the texture, everything that's unique to me really comes through in the ink.
Yeah. No, it's true, very true. Like, you're heavy, once your blacks start going in and the way you treat your feathering and stuff, yeah, it totally, like, starts to come together.
Yes. So I totally get what you're saying.
Rob is mentioning something about Stack Machine.
Oh, Stack Machine.
What's this?
So this is a project I started right before COVID hit. It actually it started gestating a long time ago.
There you go.
When Marvel did the hip hop covers. Oh yeah, that's. I'll explain, because no one's seen that yet. This is all coming out on August 3rd.
Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah. So when Marvel did the hip hop thing, like where they had the hip hop variants, Axel and I were very big hip hop fans. So he came to me and was like, "I want you to do one," and he gave me a choice of a few covers. One of which was based on the Far Side's first record, Bizarre Ride to the Far Side, and that's one of my favorite albums of all time. And that really, when that came out, that really shook me. Like it was like groundbreaking. So I jumped at that, and it was the Guardians of the Galaxy #1, and it was a twist on that cover of that album. And so when it came out, like I tagged the Far Side in a tweet and like put it out there, and then I was getting DMs from them, which to me was like crazy, because I was 20 when that record came out and was like dreaming of like working with them one day.
Oh shit.
And so now I'm DMing with them, and like every few months, like Brown of the Far Side would hit me up. He'd be like, "Look, we're putting something together. I wanna work with you on it." I was like, "Anything you want to do, whenever you want to do it, I'm down." And years later, like right before COVID hit, he DM'd me again. He's like, "Okay, I'm ready. Let's talk." And we hopped on Zoom. I guess COVID had hit, because I had Zoom at this point. Or I guess we DM'd and emailed for a bit. And Brown had this vision. He was like, at first it was a record cover, which is kind of what you're seeing.
Yeah.
But as we talked, I saw this like Gorillaz type thing coming into hip hop. Like I had this idea a couple years ago, like when everything bottomed out for me and I stopped getting work, and that's when I kind of came up with these ideas of how can I use my artwork to make a living now. I didn't want to go back to teaching, but I wanted to teach again. So I created Ink Pulp Instruction in my head, and I said I would love to be involved with hip hop artists, and I was tired of working. Comics had become, Ramon, I'm curious to see how you feel about this.
Yeah.
Comics for me had become like, the scripts I were getting were such shit. There was no understanding of the craft in the script. It was like, oh, well, this guy's a TV writer. Oh, this guy's big on Twitter. but
Yeah.
they didn't know how comic books work. So I felt like my job became script doctor. And all of a sudden, all the work I used to enjoy doing because I could tell the story was now about fixing something to make it barely work. And even then, it wasn't very good.
Yeah.
And I just I got real, like, I hated it. And it was just, I was just trying to pay my mortgage and survive and working on this shit. And these writers were just getting treated more and more like royalty. It was like all of us were picking up their crap. It's like, here's a half-assed script because I was busy at a con the past 4 weekends promoting myself. Damn. So then the work kind of dried up, and I was like, I want to get back to enjoying myself and working with people I respect and like. And so I said to myself, I want to work with hip-hop artists that I love and do something different and interesting. And so shortly after that, the Far Side called, and as we were working on it, we just saw this becoming something really bigger. We saw possible animation, we saw possible video games, we saw possible comics, we saw vinyl toys, we saw like just a fusion of music and art that the world of hip hop hadn't seen yet. But the Gorillaz kind of did that in whatever genre you want to put them in. And the thing is, Brown of the Far Side is one of the Gorillaz. He was on one of the tracks. He toured with them and everything. So it wasn't foreign to him.
Yeah.
So he could see it too. And we had weekly Zoom meetings, me, Brown, and Mike Relm, who's the DJ. And these guys quickly became friends. Like during COVID, they were like my social life and I was theirs. And we were working on this thing and doing all this cool, like, they would send me the song and I'd send them drawings, and it was awesome. And like out of this horrible thing that was going on, we found something to really sink ourselves into. So that became the Stack Machine. And then we started thinking bigger. We're like, what if every track has a different guest rapper on it? And we do a design for each guest rapper for a character. And because at the time I was just doing Brown and Mike, and then Brown started reaching out to rappers, and he got Dell to agree to do one, who was really interested in it. And what's great about that is Dell was also on a Gorillaz track and toured with the Gorillaz with Brown.
Oh, that's cool.
And so the first track is coming out August 3rd. I mean,
oh wow, oh shit.
And when they sent me the track before I joined, Dell wasn't on it. It was still like not fully produced yet, but it blew my mind. Like I was sitting in my studio, like, I love this music. Like I can't believe I'm hearing this. No one's heard this.
And you're part of it too.
Yeah. So then to go on and be a part of it and then see how the drawings, and it's not just me, I pulled in my buddy Juan Doe on it too, because I knew we needed someone whose style meshed with mine, who could also design, but could also bring graphic design to the table, which I could not. And I have such a love and appreciation for strong graphic design, and Juan's one of my favorites for that. So we pulled, and he's a huge hip hop head too. So we pulled him in on it too. So it's us four, and then each track is a different rapper. So Dell's the first one.
Oh wow!
And that's what the Stack Machine is.
Nice, man. That's amazing. I love the intersection of music and art, and especially comics, because it's such an interesting, or like even just like animation as well, which animation is more of a natural fit because you can add a soundtrack, but in comics the art has to relay the essence of the music in some way.
Totally.
Which I think is a very interesting to see how different artists approach how they incorporate music or the idea of music or lyrics or whatever it might be into
absolutely
into the design and art and all that stuff. So this is pretty sweet, man.
Yeah, I'm very excited. And so when having the sound of the track to start from really guided the artwork, and then the lyrics started changing based on the designs I was doing. And then like when we worked with Dell, he was like, let me record it first and then design it. He explained to me his concept, and his verse is all about this cat whose owner decapitated the cat on YouTube
What?
and the cat
Oh.
came back to haunt him. And
Okay.
and so it's like I created this like giant robot that is controlled by this floating cat head, and it was just awesome. It was so crazy and so Dell. It was just so Dell. If you listen to
So,
Deltron 2020, you know.
I'm
But
gonna check this out now.
Oh, time for a refill here, Ramon.
You're
yeah, you know, I
there.
totally forgot my bourbon. It's sitting on my table at home. I meant to bring it, and I was like, fuck.
It's okay.
What kind of
No.
bourbon do you drink in there, Sean?
I have, for my birthday, got myself my favorite bottle, which is Woodford Double Oak.
Ooh.
Nice Woodford, eh? Right on.
I don't think I've had a double oak one yet.
Oh
Yeah,
my god,
I don't think so either.
it's like straight caramel. It's
I
so
like
good.
I like Blanton's.
Yeah, Blanton's is very good too.
Ooh.
Side note, this is very cool. So right before COVID hit, there's a small show in Kentucky, and there's a Jim Mahfood's color artist lives in Kentucky, and he helps kind of bring people into this show. So I had gone once, but Mahfood couldn't go that time, so he got me invited again with Mahfood and Tommy Lee. And he also has a friend that works at the Woodford still.
Oh,
shit.
wow.
So he was like, I have a private tour for all all of us. And then COVID hit and it took it away like the week before we were going to
Oh,
go.
come on, COVID.
But,
Man.
but in September of this year, we're going and it's on. We're going to Woodford.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's amazing, man.
We don't, up here in Canada, we don't get a ton of selection for bourbons. My brother-in-law, they live in Manhattan, so he's always bringing up the craziest shit,
Oh, okay.
and I love it all. And there's no way I can get that up here.
Really? They just don't export it?
It's just because I think there's like crazy taxes at the border.
Well, I think
Oh,
it's
okay.
from my understanding is like the companies who like whatever brand wants to, they have to apply to export it or ship it to Canada, basically. So I know like there's certain brands of things I liked. Like for example, like I came across once I was in Boston for a con, and I had this amazing liqueur made from habanero peppers. And I was like, this is amazing. And like, I went to the LCBO, which is in Ontario, that's the liquor licensing board. They control all the shops. So unlike in the States where you can just go to your corner store and grab a bottle or whatever, here
Right.
you have to go to a specific
All about the tax man.
government controlled.
That's North Carolina is the same thing. North Carolina.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, they're called ABC stores. They're all government run. It's the only place you can get liquor.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's because they have huge buying power, so they can actually buy a lot of shit. They're one of the largest buyers of alcohol in the world because they just consume so much for they're buying for the whole province and such. But so anyways, that bottle I wanted to buy, I went to the liquor store and I was like, "Can I get this?" They're like, sorry, no, we can't." But then 3 years later, because they were like, it's not on our registry, we can't order it in. It's like we don't have the profile of the company, nothing. But then 3 years later, it was available in the LCBO. So I think it's like a process that if a company wants to actually ship and do larger scale production and whatever, they have to apply for. But I think because there's a bunch of smaller brands that I've tried to come across that I found in the States that I've never seen up here.
Oh yeah.
That I
He's
would love
always
to see
bringing
up
cool
here.
stuff. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
like
I wish there was more. I really like bourbon.
Yeah.
I'm starting to really like it.
one of my things when I went to a con, especially if I went somewhere out of the norm, like whether it was in like the Carolinas or like Kentucky or like I don't know, like I'm trying to think, or even like Europe, I'd always try to bring back a bottle of something I could never find in Canada. So that was always like a nice added bonus to doing shows.
How would you get it back?
Well, you're allowed to
Take a
bring.
bottle.
You could bring X amount of alcohol back
Oh, okay.
across the border
Before they start taxing you.
before they start taxing you, basically. And sometimes you lie and you tell you.
I don't lie, government of Canada.
But no, you're allowed certain amounts. So like it could be like 1.5, 2 bottles, depending on the size of the bottle, basically. You know what I
Okay,
mean?
okay.
Hey, what's Mom and Dad say? In North Carolina, it's illegal to sell alcohol before noon on a Sunday. Oh, but God's day. You're supposed to have, you know.
Dude, that's how it is in Georgia. I can't buy any alcohol till 12:30 on Sunday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so if I go food shopping early and I want to get my wine for the week, I sometimes I forget and I get pissed because I can't get it.
Hey, dude, I remember when I was a kid in Ontario, where I live now, you couldn't buy alcohol on a Sunday at all.
No.
It wasn't till
Yeah, that's how it was here too.
it must have been like the 90s, I think, when
Yeah,
alcohol
yeah.
became available on Sundays.
Yeah,
Basically, you know.
that was pretty much the same here
You know.
too.
Hey, we live on a continent that was founded by Protestants and and very religious people. So it's like Catholics. And no wonder you couldn't get alcohol anywhere, for the most part. You know?
Right.
When are you coming up to Canada anytime soon, Sean?
Well, one thing I want to do is, and I talked to Ramon about this a little bit, was I want to plan a trip up there so I can record a few episodes of Ink Pulp Instruction
Great.
at the studio with some of you all.
There's a lot of great guys here that even aren't like Toronto has a huge amount of talent here, and you know.
And I mean, like, I'd love to get someone like Michael Cho if I could too.
Yeah,
Michael Cho.
We'll plan it ahead. We'll get you to Toronto, then we'll do a road trip to Montreal, and we'll get Carrie.
Well, I talked about that too because I was talking to Andy and I was talking to
Yeah.
Carl and Carrie.
Yeah.
Well, then you got a road trip to London, so we can, you can visit the bar that I built in my house, and we can swim.
Yeah, that's right.
That sounds good.
Summer. But actually, I hear. I mean, on a related note, I hear they're actually finally opening the border. I think.
Oh, are they? That's good. Yeah, that was what
August 9th.
Because it's been, I think it's been a year closed now, whatever it is. Just
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, so it'd be nice to actually get across. I'm planning through like a couple of shows a little bit later, like in Chicago.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, not doing New York, unfortunately, but
Are you going to do Seattle, Ramon?
I think I told Jason it depended on whether I could get a flight or a room comped because it's just an expensive show for me to go to. Like, if they comp the room, I'm more than happy to fly in because I could get a ticket for a decent price.
Right.
But it's more about, because some of these shows, like once you tally up everything you're spending, getting there, you're almost at a loss. You know what I mean? Or breaking even, right?
Very true.
And I know part of the show is like you're networking, you're meeting people, you're hanging out, which I totally admire. But if I'm doing there, but I could do that and not sit at a table. You know what I mean?
Right.
So if my idea, if I'm going there and I'm sitting at a table, I want to walk away with a bit of profit at the end of the day.
Sure, I get that.
You know.
Yeah.
But if I'm going there and I don't have a table, I'm just wandering around. To me, it's like, okay, whatever I'm spending is a write-off, but it's an investment in my business and myself. So it's a weird, like kind of like line in the sand in my head. But it makes sense to me. I don't know, because it's a lot of work to do all the commissions there and hustle, and then if you walk away, and then you walk away and you're like, well, okay, my hotel bill, okay. And my my flight, okay, and then all my food expenses, okay. I'm walking away with $50. You know what I mean? You're like, So
I get that.
That's the thing for me, really.
Experience,
But I would like to, I look forward to gearing up and doing more shows. It's one of the nice, amazing perks of our industry to actually do these shows and just hang out, like Shawn and the whole crew at Essential. These are the guys I see only at shows for the most part.
Yep.
And it's kind of it's sad that I'm like, it's part of my family, my travel family that I haven't seen now in a year and a half.
Right.
Which is upsetting.
I agree. I mean, I was on a Zoom, like just hanging out with a few people. It was like Tommy Lee, me, Mahfood, and Troy Nixie, and like towards the end, we were like, "Fuck, man, we really miss like seeing each other and being at these shows. And we actually talked. It's funny what you were just talking about, making sure it's financially viable to do the show, because that was always my mentality. But since COVID, I'm like, we're all like, I'm going to take less commissions. I'm going to just try to sell original art and really take the time to talk to people and visit people and connect with people. And I mean, for me with Ink Pulp Instruction, I think it's important also that I spend time at my table available, not just drawing, but available to talk and explain. And I've got all these I've got these giveaways and stuff for it. So I think I'll be looking at cons a little differently moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, we've been kind of shifting a little bit here at the studio because we've been doing a lot of our own self-publishing too now.
Right.
And so we're looking at shows more as like not necessarily always just hustling and doing commissions of like whoever's favorite character or whatnot. We're like, hey, we got these stories we want to tell.
Yep.
Right.
Pay attention to like, you know, or like at least pay attention to what we're doing, or at least come check it out. Let us introduce you to our stories. You know, I mean, very much like the image model or whatever it might be. You're trying to get people over to your side of the fence rather than just coming to you to see your version of Batman or Spider-Man. It's actually to see what Shawn Crystal or Eric Vedder wants to create.
You know, that's totally. And I hit a point. What really screwed me up when I was working on the stack machine. I started to get into like NFTs and stuff, and then Marvel and DC were just like trying to shut it all down. And I was like I was talking to Mike, and he's like, "Why don't you just do your art?" He's like, "That's what people want to see." And I'm like, I've been so conditioned to believe my value as an artist exists only when I'm drawing Batman or Spider-Man or Deadpool. Like, and I had to undo that like conditioning in my mind.
Yeah, no, it's true because, like, you know, well, think about the musicians you're with. How often, like, basically, if you work in comics, and like, I don't mean this in a mean way, but it's like you're a cover band. You're just basically covering all the heroes, and the big band. A cover band only goes so far, and then the big bands who write their own material, they create their own songs, and whatever it is, those are the bands that you remember down the line.
Right.
You know what I mean? And,
right.
I mean, not to like belittle what we do, but that's kind of the same frustration I ran into. I was getting tired of working on, and like, you know, like I'd go to a con and all the commissions would be the last big book I worked on. So whether it was a Hulk thing or a Spider-Man thing, and I love it, but at the same time, I'm like, I often think of Kirby, which is like one of my, you know, comic book idols, and Kirby never worked on anything he didn't create from the ground up.
Right,
like,
that's very true.
This is a guy, he didn't go and, you know, do his version of Batman. You know, he just he went over and created the you know, the cosmic, you know, universe of, you know, for DC Comics. You know, like he was a creator. That's what he did. You know.
Right.
And I don't know, and then you see that, and you're like, wow, why am I working on all these properties that, at the end of the day, once I'm out of vogue, it'll be the next guy whose version is popular or whatever it is, right?
Right.
And so, yeah, it really hit home, and I was just like, it's been happening for the past, like, 5 years. So even before COVID, I was doing a lot of cons, and I wasn't very enthusiastic about taking commissions because I was just like, I just don't want to do another version of, you know, a quick little version of this character that might go in someone's portfolio, might go up on eBay or whatever. Like, I'm not saying it's bad to do them, but I think after doing them for 10 years, I was like, I need to do my own shit. I need people to like, and it was weird because when Eric and I first met, that's what I was doing in the first place. I was doing web comics, and people were coming to me at shows and asking me for my characters.
Right.
And then I went away from that, and now I'm trying to go back to that, which is very weird. But it's a weird, you know, doing creative things for a living is takes you down some emotional roller coasters.
Yeah, it does. It
you know what I mean?
Yeah, it really does.
The Rob Shot threw up some NFTs, I think. Sean, that's a market I've kind of started to try to get into as well.
Yeah, you've been very NFT.
Well,
oriented there.
just for a little bit, and then I got super busy, and I'm probably gonna get back to it. But
Hold on a
I
second,
was
Eric.
doing. I'm on Foundation myself.
Eric,
Okay.
first of all, before I want to know, what's this guy's hand doing? What is going on in this drawing?
Nothing. Don't worry about it.
I just look up and I just see this guy with his hand and it's like, oh my god.
Well, when the story's out for Raid 4, you'll kind of see why he's doing that. So.
Okay.
It's funny that, of course, you decide to look up when I'm working on that part.
Yeah.
So, anyway, but there's a reason. I know. I'm like, yeah, people are probably like, what the fuck's he drawing over there?
Yeah.
That's fine.
But yeah, NFTs were actually, a lot of people in the studio were all over this NFT scene. Did you have any success with it, Sean?
I did not. It
No?
was one of the most frustrating things. So I started diving into NFTs before Jason was really paying attention to it, and I was like, because Wando was getting into it and he was telling me about it, so I was all ready. So I was having, I was making NFTs with Mike Realm and Brown on the Far Side, where I took a painting of mine and Mike would animate it and put a beat to it, and then Brown would rhyme over it.
Holy
and
shit.
I have these amazing NFTs, like I have the Hulk and Spider-Man and all these cool things. And
oh yeah, there they are.
And so I was like, then Jason calls me. He's like, hey, have you heard of NFTs? I was like, oh, I'm glad you're calling because this is exactly what I want to get into. And so he told the group about it, and everyone that people were like, this is retarded, this is stupid. And then Jason was putting their work up and they were selling for like $10,000 a pop. And I was like, why aren't you putting my shit up?
Yeah.
And then it was like, well, they don't have the technology to handle movies yet. They don't have this yet. And it was just roadblock after roadblock.
Oh,
then it was Marvel doesn't want you to do it. Then it was DC doesn't want you to do it. So then I just did my own paintings of sexy women with psychedelic mushrooms and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I still have these NFTs. We were getting ready to release that Hulk one, and Portion was they're like, this is going to be our most popular NFT we've ever released. Jason was like, we're going to get $50,000 for this one. And then Marvel put out the note. And so I didn't get anywhere. And then after a while, when it was I was like, fuck Marvel, fuck DC. And I just put them up. And I just put them on my Maker's Place page. And at this point, NFTs were just dying. And I haven't sold any.
So has the wave subsided on it?
I don't know. I put up a site. I got 4 pieces up. I haven't sold a damn thing either. I'm just trying to a different. I do this kind of really inky style, and I just. It's kind of I call it my mist style.
Yeah, I know the style you're talking about. Very digital, loose.
I've had a lot of people reach out saying, "Oh, I love what you're doing. That's so cool." And so I'm like, "Oh, I'll make that." And it was all digital art. So I was like, "Oh, this is perfect. This is finally." Because I realized while I'm doing these digital pieces, I'm like, "Well, they're just a computer image. I can make 1 billion copies of these things. Nobody really cares."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I thought there was no value to it. Oh yeah, there's the site there. So
yeah.
So I was doing these kind of wacky, inky kind of colors digitally, and I my first one, if you scroll down, Rob, it's a I put it at 3 Ethereum, thinking, oh, maybe that's $12,000. No one's
right. But at the time, that wasn't unheard of. I mean, that's what.
No, I know. That's the thing.
Crazy.
You kind of get some ideas, and but I love that I have a space now to do this. I think one of the things that kind of I figured out a little bit later on is they're still struggling with the energy consumption of these things, and I'm like, for fuck's sake. But I don't know.
Well, I mean,
really...
I had heard. I talked to people at Porsche, and the technology is there for a much more energy efficient means of making them, and they're implementing it. It's just a slow process because with digital currency, they can't have any hiccups. There's no tracking shit, so.
Oh yeah.
It's being put into place, but the whole digital currency thing took a dive too. So I'm not saying it's gone. I've got a bunch up, and hopefully one day they'll sell. But
Yeah, that's
I'm
here,
moving ahead without it. Like,
No,
Yeah.
I'm just looking. I can't really tell from the screen caps that Rob's putting up, but are the ones that both of you are selling? Are they one-offs? Or are they like limited to 50? Like,
no,
are they
everything I've done is a one-off.
one-off?
same.
Eh?
Yeah,
Okay.
these are one-offs. I think some sites you can do multiples, like you can do 10, 50, or 100 copies.
Yeah.
I was on Portion too, and I saw like Dave Johnson and a bunch of all these other guys and Kennedy and them, and they're selling this work, and I'm like, that's Iron Man or that's Batman. How can they get away with selling? And so because I did a lot of Capcom art with Udon, so Joe Vereen and I were like, oh, maybe we could sell all our Capcom stuff. The problem is I don't want it to be like I'm trying to do it because I want to do it, not for the money. You know, like it's an art space. I mean, some of it's about the money.
I was gonna say.
And that's why I did it. I'm not gonna lie. I got into it because I had no money coming in, and it was like, oh, I could sell a couple of these, and I'm good for a few months. Like,
It's so for me, obviously, it piqued my interest because you saw like that crazy, what's his name, Beeple or whatever. He made like $1 billion off of some weird thing, and everyone's like, oh, I can do that. Yeah, you probably can, but he's been doing it for like 500 days straight.
But wasn't that like he sold an image of all his posts or something for the past, like since he started on Instagram or something like that.
Yeah. And so I get, but the whole concept of it was really escaping me for quite a while. And even to this time, even now, I'm still kind of like, okay, I think I'm starting to kind of get it. I have Ethereum-ish, and I put some money in my account so I can like mint these things. I think it's fascinating, and I think I kind of believe in the space, and I kind of want to get back to it. I just need to find time to do it, but I don't know where it's going to go. But I'm excited to be part of it, to be honest. So
I don't think it's gone. I don't know what's going on with it right now.
Yeah.
Like I find it interesting because obviously it adds the uniqueness of an original to a digital piece, which didn't exist in the marketplace before. That's kind of what I find interesting. It's no different than artists in our industry who do, like I've seen a big trend for artists who are basically digital artists, and they're printing they call a proof, and they just sign it as one of one. So basically, you're buying a print, but it's like they promise never to basically make another print ever again of this piece, and that's what you're paying for. I find this a little bit more credible because it actually has. If it ever transfers hands again, it's tracked. It's always tracked by a digital signature.
Well, also, if it sells again, there's this idea that the creator gets a cut of that sale. Like that was the other reason why I thought that was interesting because you get a cut of the sale, and I'm like, well, that's cool. So it gives people who've been doing digital art their whole life or whatever, like, oh, this is like the new art gallery but online.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm still interested in it. Obviously, it's got problems still, but I'm definitely down with it.
Yeah. But I also learned that. So, like, let's say you buy a piece on Maker's Place.
Mm-hmm.
Then you own it, and so if you sell it again on Maker's Place, the artist will get 10% of that sale.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But if that person decides to go sell it on Portion, then the artist doesn't get it. Because there's no means of tracking it at that point.
Interesting.
Well, that's
there's a lot of it's all very marketplace specific.
I see.
Interesting. I didn't know that. I thought they had to live only in the space where you bought it.
No, I mean it's just a JPEG, so you could really take it anywhere.
That's what I was wondering. Like, how do they control? Like, is it imprinted with like a signature or like a, I don't know what you would call it, like a GPS. A digital GPS thumbprint or something?
I mean, it has that built into it, but there's nothing that prevents you from taking it to another platform to sell it.
Interesting. Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, it's interesting, but it's also... Well, I think, like you said, a lot of kinks to still work out, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
So you were obviously into skateboarding. You ever do any skateboard art?
No, but I really wanted to when I was younger, and I still would love to. But it seems like skateboard like graphics kind of they're not important anymore.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, man, I hear you. I like again for Warframe for the video game I'm working on. I tried to insert. Well, they wanted to do. We had like a hoverboard that you could get in the game, and they wanted to do
Cool.
like 80s styles graphics,
Nice.
That's
like
cool.
skateboard graphics. And I'm like, oh my god, I'm doing that. Like, please let me do that. And so I did like 10 of them, and then they actually printed a couple on some skateboards. So I was like,
Nice.
this is the shit. This is like a dream come true. So I always wanted to. I'm a snowboarder and a skateboarder, and I really wanted to. Like do the graphics. Oh yeah, that could totally be a skateboard right there.
Yeah, that could
Oh,
be.
that's
That could be,
wicked.
yeah. I'm
that's
very
a-
interested in like painting on blank decks and selling original art that way.
That'd be interesting.
That's something I'm very interested in.
That'd be kind of cool. You could just do a heavy lacquer on it to protect it.
Yeah.
And,
I've gotten into painting on wood a little bit, so I'm definitely interested in that.
Oh.
So like you talked about working on the stack thing, and like where do you see yourself, man? Like down the road, like where do you want to go? You keep trying. You got your hands in a lot of things, and it's really inspiring to hear all that. But like, is there an end goal here, or like a
Yeah, the end goal, like I started seeing myself finally again as just an artist, not being defined by like comic book artist or you know whatever. So I just want to live a creative life, and I mean I always want to do comics, like that's really where my heart is. But I want to have gallery shows. I want to paint massive paintings that are like 6 by 8 feet. I think I landed a mural. I went and met with a local
Oh wow.
restaurant I love, and they have an 8-foot by 10-foot wall, and they're willing to pay some really good money for me to get on there. And I think that's what my month of November is going to be. So
that's cool.
I
That's
just
awesome.
want to draw and paint in as many different ways as I can, and ink pulp instruction is kind of like my vehicle to allow that exploration.
Well, that's
Not
awesome,
tattoo
dude.
art.
Oh yeah, no, definitely part of it for sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
I'm gonna spend after I'm done with that mural. Well, even during, I think I'm gonna pick one day a week to just spend with my buddy because he's opening up a shop near here too, and I'm like, oh, if I could put in a day or two a week there, I could also
Yeah.
come close to covering my monthly nut. So between that and ink pulp instruction, I've got another 3 or 4 days a week to do whatever I want. And I
That's
think
awesome,
tattooing would
man.
be fun. Like it'd be fun to get in there and do that a day or two a week.
Yeah,
Oh,
seeing
that's
your
awesome.
stuff on inked on a body would be pretty dope, man. It's very iconic. It's very graphic, iconic. Like I think that would translate really well to skin.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope so. Oh, my daughter started a tattoo apprenticeship today, actually,
Oh wow.
Oh shit!
at a
Nice.
different shop that another buddy of mine owns.
Oh, that's awesome. So the artistic talent has passed on.
Oh,
Yeah.
without a doubt. Yeah, my
Yeah.
daughter and my son are both very art-driven people.
Nice.
That's awesome. That's
Very
awesome.
nice. That's
Cool, man.
it'd be stressful but also nice.
Yeah, no, I mean it's great. It's great. It's not stressful. I mean, look, I my whole thing is they're not going to have it as hard as I had it because they have me in it
Mhm.
to help them a bit. So
Yeah, that's true.
I'm all for it.
Nice. Are you so I mean from our discussion the impression is that you're not really doing much or I could be wrong on this, but you're not doing much work for the big two.
I do.
right
I
now.
haven't gotten a job from them in 2 years until last month.
Oh, okay.
I got contacted. I did a cover for this book. Actually, I think it's called Joker's Puzzle Box.
Oh, okay.
I think Chip is actually the main cover artist on the book, but I got a variant.
Okay.
And it's a story where it's the Riddler has been murdered and the Joker knows who did it, and he's leading Gordon and his police through a giant like puzzle to find out the murder.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's supposed to be like a Guy Ritchie movie that, like with all these different stories, but it's told in 9-page stories, each story focused on another villain.
Okay.
So I got a variant cover and then I turned it in and they're like, hey, do you want to do one of these?
Oh,
And
that's
I
cool.
was really soured on like ever working for them again, but
Mhm.
it's Katie, and I love Katie.
Oh, Katie Kubert?
And then yeah,
Yeah,
and
she's
she was
awesome.
like, I have a clay face with Batman in it. I was like, okay, I'll do it.
I
All
should
right, you
reach
got
out
me.
to her because I haven't talked to her in ages, man. She's awesome.
Yeah, she is awesome. So it's only a 9-pager, but it's nice to
Yeah,
get in and get out.
yeah. No, that's true. I found I enjoyed comics more when comics was my part-time gig.
Yeah, yeah,
When I made comics my full-time gig, it seemed I enjoyed it less because then I was having to hustle more
right.
uh, to make ends meet, to do because comics, like I've worked as an artist for now probably 25 years maybe, and for the first decade of that, or 15 years almost, I never drew comics other than for myself or for fun. I tried to get work, but it was always, yeah, we don't have any, whatever. So I'd always,
Mhm.
if a comic job came along, it was like a one off or like 2 issues or something like that. And I found I gave it my all because I could work in advertising or graphic design or whatever and make 3 times as much money. That would cover my expenses, and then I could sit back and indulge in a comic book script. But
Right.
then when I went full time with comics, comics is great, but it's way more labor
Oh
intensive
my god, it's
Yeah.
grueling.
than
Yeah.
than graphic design or advertising ever is.
Right.
Like that shit is easy compared to comics.
Right.
And I don't mean that in a negative way on comics. I love the challenge of creating stories in comic books, but the paycheck does not equal the workload in
No,
comic
no,
books.
no, no.
Well,
And
yeah, that's
and
why I got out of comics.
but you know what I mean. So it was like, and then I found I was having, because I wanted to push myself a bit more creatively, and sometimes I find comics can be a little bit stifling in that regard as well.
Right.
I was just getting more and more disenchanted, which leads back to what I said earlier. So I think doing company comics, let's call them company comics, where you're working for Marvel or DC,
Yeah, that's a good way
where
of putting it. I like that.
like if I'm only doing like one mini arc a year, like say 5 issues or 4 issues, and then I can do advertising work on the side, graphic art or whatever it is, and or some corporate work for like a brand doing development or concepting. I'm happy because that way I get my release in comics, but I have it's much more joyful than like an ongoing. And I know I'm on ongoing right now, but it's a creator owned, so it's a little bit different. You're a bit more involved in that.
Yeah, that is
You know what I
different.
mean? Because with Marvel or DC, I find you're the guy that just gets handed the script, and then you got to work with it. And whether there's a couple times I've signed on to a project, and I'm like, oh, I can't wait. Then I get the script, and I'm like, I do not want to draw this at all now because
Right,
because the
yeah.
script is terrible, or
That's what I was saying earlier. Exactly.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, because when you were saying that earlier, I was like, I feel exactly what Shawn is putting down because there's some. They're like, I had a chance to work on a Batman book once, and I remember I got the script and I just called the editor back and I was like, I'm sorry. Like, I think I was polite about it. I kind of said like something came up, but really the script was so bad that I was like, I don't want this to be my one Batman thing. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah,
I want my
yeah.
Batman thing to be something amazing and something that I'm proud of. 'Cause if
Yeah,
I'm gonna work, if I'm gonna work on Batman, I have a feeling it's only gonna be once, and I want it to be
right.
amazing.
Yeah, and I luckily got that, and the script was beautiful. That
Nice.
Batman
That's
book I
awesome.
did, I really enjoyed that script a lot.
So, and for the most part, I've been lucky. Like I've worked with a lot of phenomenal writers in this, and like I've been, every comic book project I've worked on for Marvel or DC, I stand by like as like a long run series. Let's put it that way, like 5 issues or more kind of thing.
Right.
Like I stand by because I've been so lucky to work with like Jason Aaron or like Lemire or Chip, who I'm working with now.
Right.
Like I've been blessed, so like I'm not complaining, but it's like I know my limitations, and I know what makes me excited.
You also got your own projects to do, buddy. Your shit's dope.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, well, that's what I want. That's what I'm trying to lean into now. I'm trying to lean into my own shit, and you know, Stillwater and working with Skybound's a step towards that. You know,
well, we're also trying to be a publisher too, right?
Yeah, well, we've been doing some small press publishing up here north of the border, which you know, nothing to live off yet. But hell, I remember Image Comics for. You know, pre-Saga, it was a sad place for a lot of creators.
Right.
You know, people forget that what it was at one point.
I remember.
You know?
I was trying to do some stuff there at the time too. I was like, how am I going to survive on this?
Yeah, like I remember like guys like Ivan Brandon, like he's been there for like forever. Like he was
right.
there when, you know, and now I'm glad these guys stuck it through and they have their successes. But there was a time a book at Image was lucky it sold 2,000 copies maybe.
Yeah. Dude, The Walking Dead was that. I mean, when it first came out, I remember like Tony was working on that. It came out, it did okay.
Yep. And it didn't blow up for a while.
Right.
No. So
I'm a Deadhead says you can throw all your eggs into the Stillwater basket.
Yeah. No, we've got some great fans of the series, and you know, Chip's. I mean, I love working on it, but once again, it's Chip's idea, right? And I'm so happy to help him bring it to life because I've been there from the ground floor, which has been awesome. But you know, I think every creator has their different sensibilities and brings their own thumbprint to whatever they work on, and you don't really see that till it's like until it's like a Shawn Crystal written and drawn book. You're only seeing a facet, I think, of a creator.
I agree.
And I think the closest I came was when I worked on
Tale
of Sand. Yeah, because that was like me taking somebody else's script, but I was at least adapting it and just cutting loose and doing whatever the fuck I wanted on that.
Yeah, that was a cool experience, man.
It was. I mean, literally, without exaggeration, career changing for me.
Yeah.
But I still haven't had that same opportunity since that book. I think the closest I've come was Jane Eyre, or Jane, sorry, which I did with Aline Brosh McKenna, who was a screenwriter. So I was adapting her screenplay and working with her on plot and helping her break things down, which was amazing. You know, working with like a professional such as herself, but you know, once again, it wasn't my story and that kind of thing. So not to say it has to be the me show all the time, but it's like I started out doing things where I got to, you know, control the sandbox, the pacing, the visuals, the whatever it is, the dialogue, you know, and it's just like there's a certain joy and energy that comes from that and a satisfaction that I think I'm itching for again.
I think Sam makes a good point there.
Huh? Oh, I would love. I mean, you know, I grew up. Batman was the first hero I fell in love with as a kid.
Yeah,
and funny enough, it wasn't the comic. It was the Adam West TV show. That's my first impression. Not to say that's the Batman I would draw, but he's been the hero that I've been longest into, like the in comics. So I would totally go all out and go nuts with a Batman story. What I would love to do, I don't know if the editors are listening to this thing, but should I ever have the opportunity to write and draw a Batman black and white, that would be my my drop the mic moment at DC Comics or in comics in general. For the most part, I don't know, but that would like just black and white, and because like I mean, the one beauty I see in your work, Shawn, is that you hold so true to the balance of black and white, which I feel I've lost since working in a lot of mainstream comics because I began to rely on color more. That's my own fault.
Well, I think that's the nature of like that train is moving so fast to keep up with it is nearly impossible. I mean, I'm adhering to an aesthetic from EC Comics, and it's funny. I watched over COVID. I watched this documentary on YouTube, and it was about EC Comics and the horror books, and to hear Gaines say like what he wanted to create. He's like, Marvel and DC were not paying their talent what they were worth. They weren't giving them the time they needed. So I wanted to create a company that would give the artists the time for them to do their best work and pay them so they didn't have to worry while they were doing it.
Oh, wow.
And it was like, that shit is still going on today.
So fucking true.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, nothing has changed. Nothing.
Yeah. No. I have to get that link off you for the documentary, though. Check that
Okay.
out.
It's funny.
But-
Dell, the rapper, Dell the Funky Homo Sapien, who I was working with, was the one that turned me on to it because he was going nuts. We would have these Zooms, and me and him would end up talking about EC Comics for like an hour while everyone else was like, guys.
No, I love that era of stuff, and you know, I own a lot of the EC collections, and you know, I would love to. That's not the purist in me wants to do just a black and white.
Yeah,
maybe a little bit of zip tone, whatever it is. But
yeah,
know.
that'd be awesome.
You know, fuck.
Yeah, and Ramon, I did feel myself getting lazy with the black and white. Not lazy is the wrong word. Just trying to keep my head above water, sacrificing it, just relying on the colorist.
You know, because I feel, monthly books are a lot of work.
yeah.
You know, and especially if you don't have a lot of lead time on a book, where you're, you know, maybe the deadlines, the print deadline is maybe 4 weeks or 5 weeks, if you're lucky. You know, I've been on many books where like they need it in 2 or 3 weeks. So you're like, okay, where can I cut corners and, still make this book look good? And especially if you have a great colorist on the book, you can kind of lean on them a little bit, right? To make you look good, you know?
Right.
Because, I mean, at the end of the day, it is an assembly line team effort. And, everybody brings as best as they can their A game, but sometimes the A game might be like a B game, which is still good, but you sacrifice a little bit. You sacrifice, I'm not spotting my blacks as efficiently as I want to, or or maybe the background characters aren't as rendered or whatever, or backgrounds, or it's people forget sometimes that this is like a time game as much as an art game, And
yeah, I think that's what I wrestled with too much, and it just sucked the life out of me.
It does,
because I never did an issue in less than 5 weeks. I never could sacrifice enough to get faster beyond that, and that was like 5 weeks of me grinding all hours of every day.
Yeah.
And it's like I wasn't thrilled with my results, but I couldn't make it any worse for myself. So it was like I was just never happy, except the Batman book. I was doing those in like 5 or 6 weeks, and I was pretty happy with the results at the time.
If that's the one thing you're kind of, I think, handling, because I know my schedule with Skybound's been great. They give me about 5 weeks an issue, and that's a nice number. That gives you about like a page and maybe a day, maybe a little bit less, depending if you can take a day off here, not working weekends, that sort of thing.
Right.
But there's many books I work on especially when I came into comics before I worked on Tale of Sand. A lot of my initial jobs, like I was doing a comic in, like I think my record, I did a full comic in 2 days, pencils.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
you're insane.
No, because the client they were like, we need this. We forgot about it. Can you do it? And I was like, fuck, I guess. And that's a long day. That's not like.
How did you do that?
It was. I'm not proud of the work, but you do it. But the problem is, I did it so much that I think I got maybe a bit cursed because people were like, "Oh, get it to Ramon. He can do it faster." And get it done for the deadline. So a lot of my initial projects in comics were super tight deadlines, covering for artists that maybe couldn't make their issue or whatever, right?
Wow.
So I'd be coming into either ink or pencil or whatever, half a comic or a full comic in 2 weeks or something like that. And and then I think you just kind of get saddled with that, and then
Devious Diddler. What is that? Devious Diddler?
The Devious Diddler. I don't know. Oh, that's your art.
Oh. I'm like, what's he talking about? Don't look. So what are you working on there, Ramon? I see it flash up on the screen a little bit.
Oh, I've been kind of struggling with a monster for. So speaking of creator owned, I'm trying to get back into finishing my Kookaburra online comic because I want to take it to print.
Design.
And I've been trying to because the character is kind of in this land of kind of horror, if you will, like of nightmares, and I'm trying to. It's funny because I've been struggling with this character design for like years, and
it's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, I think it looks awesome.
And so this is like the first time I'm actually happy with the design a little bit.
That could be the Devious Diddler.
He's got a lot of diddling potential.
How's your stuff looking there, Shawn? I keep seeing it. It looks fantastic, man. Let's see here.
Are we letting him draw or?
Oh,
what?
He popped out for a second there.
Probably.
I did?
Oh, there you
Oh,
go.
there.
Wow, no, that's a.
Man,
I'm
that's
actually.
dark.
One thing I'm impressed, like this, as I'm watching you work here, the white, like the spirals on the mushrooms.
Yeah.
The me would probably do the mushroom in black and then white in the spirals. But from what I can tell, you're actually doing those, like you're just like inking around the white.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, dude. It's like my whole inking process is built on laziness by adding work. It's like I don't want to. I'm too lazy to grab a different tool, so I figured it all out with the brush. You're right. It would be quicker to black it out and go in with white, but
Yeah.
no.
It's actually it's actually funny that you mentioned that because I actually suffer from the same laziness. I hate switching tools.
Yeah,
when I'm
me
inking.
too.
Like I see guys who incorporate tech pen / brush,
Right.
quill, they spray the toothbrush, and I'm like, I'm like, they're
Yeah.
all sitting there like 3 inches from my hand, but for some reason I'm just like,
Yeah, I don't want to put my brush down. Also, when like I have so much dry brush in my work now, it's like
Mhm.
if I put the brush down for an extended period of time, I have to put water in it so the ink doesn't dry in it. And
for sure, yeah.
it takes a good 5 to 10 minutes to get your brush to the right level of dryness to where you can get the dry brush I like. So
Yeah,
I try to avoid having to put the brush down.
yeah. And what are you using there? Number 2 or number 1? It looks pretty fine.
No, this is number 2 Raphael, so it's like a
Number
number
2?
3 Winsor Newton.
Oh, okay. So I mean,
Yeah, I don't use small brushes.
no, they don't hold a lot of ink.
No,
So-
exactly. And also, I can't get a thick line out of it. Like,
No,
I
that's
think
true.
for a learning tool, it's great, but I see some of our colleagues who use like 1s and 0s. I'm like, what are you doing?
Oh yeah, I know. I tried to ink with a 1 once because I saw this art like a inker I admire. I'm like, wow, look at the lines and stuff, and but I tried. And I was like, I'd have to be dipping the brush like even like after every line practically, which I found was like crazy. And,
Yep.
You know, and the thing is, like, going back to, I talked earlier about the graphic design and having to learn brush to do lettering back in college. My teacher, he taught us on a number 3,
Yes.
Winsor Newton.
Yeah.
And he would be, like, he brought up all 3 brushes. He's like, you can get the same line with a 3 that you can get with a 1.
Exactly.
It comes down to control.
Exactly.
Right? You know what I mean? So, and that's kind of what stuck with me. I'm like, okay, so like I can get the same line. I just got to, and I get to hold more ink at the same time. So, you know.
Yeah, and that's why I like so if I use a Winsor Newton, I don't go lower than a 3.
Yeah.
On a Raphael, a 2 is kind of equivalent to a 3. But I'll even ink with a Raphael 3, which is like a Winsor Newton 4.
Interesting. I never tried the Raphael brushes. I'll have to.
Oh my God. The thing I love about the Raphael brushes is they have like a bounce to them. They're like a much stronger hair than the Winsor Newton. The
Really?
Winsor Newton has a much finer like tip. Like you can dance on a single hair with a Winsor Newton for a long time.
Yeah.
And the Raphaels are very sharp, but that tip to belly is a much faster transition.
Interesting. Okay.
But the strength of the brush, the bristles themselves give the brush such a bounce. It's like it has more muscle. Where like the Winsor Newton will like curl over if you're inking in one direction.
Yeah.
This thing just snaps back so much better.
Okay.
But also since I'm using dry brush, having that like stronger bristle is even better.
Yeah.
But even then, like I'll spend 2 months with Raphael, and then I'll be like, I'm gonna do Winsor Newton today, and then I'll pick it up and I'll be like, why am I not using this more? And then after a month, I'm like, I miss my Raphaels. Let me go back to them.
All your different lovers, Shawn.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All my ladies.
All your ladies. What was I gonna say? Speaking of the dry brushing, how do you find your brushes wear more with the dry brushing?
No. I take such good care of my brushes.
Okay.
I mean, I really do. And the ink doesn't dry in them. I never dip my brush. Like, you can even probably see it.
Yeah, you're good. You don't go deeper than the ferrule.
No, there's no ink down here at all.
Yeah. You're a good saint because mine are filthy.
Yeah, most people are. I feel crazy. Like my brush care video, I'll send it to you when it's put together. It's pretty crazy.
Nice. No, I had we had a teacher, like I said, the same teacher with all the brushwork I had to learn. We had like, here are the soaps you use. Here's the
that's exactly what's in my brush care video.
And it was funny actually too, because like it wasn't actually until I met Michael Cho I stopped doing this, because like back I used to ink with the brush, and the ink back then used to have a bit of enamel in it.
Yeah,
which it doesn't now.
Right.
So I would always dip the brush and I'd clean it with the soap, but my teacher was like, if you want, twirl it in your mouth for a point.
I do that every time.
And then tap it on something, and that'll spring it back to its natural form. Yeah. And Mike Cho was like, "What are you, crazy? You're like, there's like."
I don't do it with ink in my brush.
Either do I. But like sometimes there might be like a residue or something, and you'd be like, I think once or twice I accidentally did it with ink on my brush. And I had like black tongue for like a week.
I had that yesterday actually. I came home with ink on my lips.
Where were you?
It's the other lady, honey. The other lady, Rafaela. I couldn't
But I do, like, after I wash it, I always use my saliva to like hold that point. So here, I'll show you how crazy I am.
No, I know these steps you're taking here.
My Raphaels are all sharp as hell.
You are crazy, but I admire it. I admire it 100%. Oh man, that's impressive. Like that's a nice case actually. Did you make that, or was that?
No, it's just a brush bin. Art bin makes it.
Well, I'm gonna have to get that because mine are all over the place on my table, and sometimes they'll fall down and they'll accidentally bend the tip because I haven't paid attention to my desk in a while, which is nothing more horrendous than like a brush that's suddenly curved and you can never regain the shape.
Yeah, this is it. But these are my Raphael 3s. These are my Winsor Newton 3s, and I have my Raphael 2s.
I like your brush OCD there, Shawn.
Yeah.
Respect.
Firing.
That's definitely what it is. That's definitely it.
Oh man. Well, I think we're wrapping up on the couple hours here. I mean, I've had a great time.
That was a fast 2 hours. Jeez.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Rob was messaging half an hour. I'm like, what the fuck? Where did an hour and a half go? So that's awesome.
But thanks for joining us, Shawn. This was amazing.
Yeah,
and it was actually great to catch up with you. I mean, it was funny. I was actually going through some old emails the other day looking for something, and I found our old email chain with Nick Bradshaw.
Yes.
Remember that?
Yeah, of course. Dude, it's funny. I was going through the same thing the other day and saw one. I was like, I still have this?
Yeah. And I was
we were all doing Wolverine and the X-Men.
Yeah, exactly, right? And I was like,
yeah.
oh, fuck, and once again, I miss my family, man. So it was so great to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
And good luck with the shows. Good luck with all this amazing stuff you're doing.
Thank you.
Great to talk to you, Shawn, and listen to you. I can't wait till see you in person again and have some FaceTime.
Yeah, I can't wait to have a drink with you guys.
Yeah, I look forward to whatever show we can pull off. I don't know what. Maybe I'll talk to Jason about Seattle. Who knows?
Yeah, I'll be there. I'm definitely doing that one.
Oh,
yeah,
man,
and then
awesome.
I do want to figure out a Toronto trip next year sometime.
I mean, you're always welcome, and if you ever want to, like, obviously you'll be here to do work, but We have lots of space in the studio, so if you ever want to like just chill out for a day and draw as well, if you have something else on the plate,
Yeah, I probably would like that.
you know, we have lots of room, and we're happy to set you up with a place to stay as well.
Nice.
You know what
Awesome.
I mean, so
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on, Shawn. You were great, buddy.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks for having me, guys. I'd love to come
All
back
right,
if you want to
dude.
do it again.
Most definitely. All right, I guess we'll sign off. Cheers,
Cheers.
everybody, and we'll see you next
Thanks for
week.
everyone that came tonight. For
Peace,
sure.
everyone.
Yeah,
And Shawn,
Peace out.
thanks again, and to your health.
Cheers, man.
Cheers, everybody.
Ciao.
Nice. That's fantastic.